Thanks for coming out, everybody. Yesterday evening, Chief Judge Richard Seaboard, California Northern District, issued a 38-page order enjoining the federal government from imposing illegal and unconstitutional grant requirements on the city of Fresno and 10 other municipalities, which include an airport district, counties, and cities. And so what this order means is that the federal administration is not allowed to impose these grant conditions on the city of Fresno and these other communities. And I just want to say that, and I know that the others will address this in a few minutes, but we did this really as a last resort. We tried to negotiate with the federal government, but we were really put in an impossible situation where we had to choose between declining federal funds, over $200 million worth of funds, or having our city staff and our city attorneys sign off on unconstitutional and illegal terms that would have placed them potentially in harm's way in terms of civil and criminal liability. And so what this means for Fresno going forward is that our airport can continue its expansion, its safety plans. What it means is that the planning department can continue to work with the unhoused community to put up affordable housing here in the city of Fresno. And what it also means is that we don't have to divert hundreds of millions of dollars from other places in the city like public safety, fire, and police to plug that potential gap. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Councilmember Richardson.
All right, good morning, everybody. We've said this once before, and just to reiterate, nothing about this decision from the council standpoint was political. Doesn't have anything to do with politics. You look at all the parties in the lawsuit, it's HUD, it's DOT, Federal Highway Administration, Transit Administration. Nothing in Washington, D.C. outside of those specific entities who had guaranteed Fresno money and were willing to take it back. That we didn't want to stand for. So first I'd like to talk to Clovis, Sanger, Selma, Reedley, Mendota, Firebog, you name it, Madera, anybody who uses Fresno's airport, we're standing strong. We've got it. We're leading from the front. Your airport's not going anywhere. Our plans, our progress for Fresno Yosemite International, we're not going to let that go up in flames. And the same goes for our police department. The same goes for the other monies that are coming down from the state and federal government, as the city attorney mentioned. My constituents put me in this job to do a few things, right? To keep your tax dollars working for you, to keep cops on the streets, and to keep big government from getting in the way of your liberties. So my message to my constituents is I don't care if it's Sacramento or it's Washington, D.C. who comes down here to try to put their hands in Fresno's oatmeal. It's not going to happen. You put us here for a job. I have a lot of bosses. None of them are in Sacramento. None of them are in D.C. And our messages to both of those higher forms of government who don't understand how Fresno runs and the duty that we have to the people who live here, message is clear. Don't fuck with Fresno. Councilmember Carbasi.
Okay, thank you all so much. Very important issue. This ruling was a huge win for local government everywhere. The fact of the matter is that the Congress, which is a separate branch of government, said we're going to send dollars back to our local communities to ensure they can have economic development and deal with the housing crises we're facing across this country. And we've used that money very efficiently. Let's not forget that Fresno passes balanced budgets. We are a responsible fiscal steward of our state tax dollars and our federal tax dollars, and we put them to good use here. But we were faced with an impossible choice. Either we comply with the orders that probably were unconstitutional and put our staff at serious legal jeopardy, which we can't do as employers, or we decide to send the money back, which is completely irresponsible because we qualified for every single dollar we received, or we go down the route of litigation, which was not an easy decision. It was not personal. It was simply about making sure that we be able to receive the dollars that Congress appropriated to communities like Fresno. You may find other lawsuits by other jurisdictions and they want to make it incendiary and radical. That's not what this is about. This is simply about the fact that we were elected to do a job. That was to protect the interests of our community, and that's what we're doing today. The airport expansion, as Councilmember Richardson mentioned, is really important. It is a regional gem. It directly correlates to enhanced economic opportunity. We are an economically depressed region in the state, so that means we do everything we can to help increase upward mobility, and an airport could be a real catalyst for that kind of a thing, attracting businesses to invest in Fresno. So we're not giving those dollars back. We're looking forward to your questions and your thoughts on this, and I will say this, I know a lot of other jurisdictions decided to relent, and that's very unfortunate they made that decision. This was about the Constitution, this is about separation of powers, this is about the fact that when you're in a football game and a ruling's been called, you can't wait till the game is over and say, you know, we're gonna come back and we're gonna change the rules on you and we're gonna give it to the other team. That's not the way it works. Congress has their authority, they set up terms, Fresno qualified. It doesn't matter who the president is. Any president that would do this would be put in that same impossible situation, and our only option would be through litigation. I'm very appreciative of the judge and the ruling in this case, and we're confident that if it is appealed and it moves up, that court will also side with local communities like Fresno and keep local control where it belongs in the communities like Fresno here at home. And at this point, we'll take your questions.
Are you guys gonna spend any of this money, or are you gonna wait for the appeals process?
We already, that was kind of the issue. We already were spending the money. We already were in contracts with different groups in terms of housing, in terms of airport expansion. So this really was like the carpet being pulled from under us. So we're gonna keep doing what we've been doing.
Can you speak a little to the specifics of the judge's decision as to why the conditions that the Trump administration was trying to impose were illegal?
Well, sure, and to be very clear, we don't want to name names here in the respect of, it could be any administration, but absolutely, Andrew.
Sure. So the judge made a number of findings in his ruling. Number one was that some of the executive orders that were coming from Washington were vague. Second, as Council President Carbasi mentioned, there was a separation of powers issue. So we have a legislative branch, Congress, in a bipartisan fashion approved this funding with certain strings attached that we complied with. The judge found basically that the executive branch in this situation can't go undo what Congress did. So those are the two big main points.
What were some of the requirements that the federal government were placing on Fresno and requiring Fresno to comply with?
So some of the requirements was for Fresno to have its police department cooperate with the federal government in terms of immigration enforcement. There was a vague request or a requirement to eliminate anything that had anything to do with diversity, equity, or inclusion, which the judge found all three words to be vague and undefined by the Trump administration.
Do you know if an appeal has been put forth yet?
They have 30 days to file an appeal, which based on the ruling or based on the hearing yesterday, it sounds like they probably will.
Yeah, I'm gonna add something to that. I think we all know about the food fight that the governor and the president are involved in. You can see it on social media. And I think part of it is local communities like Fresno, we're kind of getting in the middle of that, and we don't want that. They can have their issues. The fact of the matter is, what do they say, all politics is local? It's at this level that we see the people impacted by all the negative policies and negative rhetoric, and we're just trying to survive. We're just trying to make our way through and keep our promises to our residents, and they can fight all they want, but they shouldn't take it out on local communities.
You mentioned that some other cities backed down. Can you talk about the precedent that you hope this sets for the future?
Well, I think the precedent was always there. There's a separation of powers. Congress has their role and they appropriate things, and any president can't use an executive order to say, well, I don't like that. I'm gonna impose on my own different rules. And I think that it just reaffirms the rule of law in our country and the separation of powers. So we just hope, if anything, it shows if something is wrong, you shouldn't just relent, you should step up, and you have to devote some resources to that, but it could pay off to do the right thing, and that's what we've done here. Again, we did not ask for any of this. This was something that was put in our lap, and we had to respond the best way possible.
This is the way I look at it. With the cities backing down, the way I look at it is the federal government says, listen, we want you to have no information on any public documents, any publicly accessible sites that say that you're going to protect people's application process. You're going to have equality in the workforce. You're going to be a diverse city, anything like that. They wanted a 0. Some of the other cities who backed down, in my opinion, were at 100. State law is you maintain a 50. Think about it like that. Fresno has been a 50. we stayed at 50. Fresno runs well on a 50. Some of these other cities decided that since they went above and beyond, putting a bunch of things in there that were maybe unnecessary, but definitely above and beyond state law or federal requirements, a lot of them have backed down and come down to a 50, a rational, moderate, middle-of-the-road place where Fresno's already lived for years, if that makes any sense.
Explain what a 50 is.
Yeah.
A 50 is very basic insurances, like your Civil Rights Act. Hey, Fresno's a diverse city. We acknowledge that. Hey, we want to hire people and have you protected, regardless of your race or age or religion or disability status or anything else. Very basic hiring practices. Things that appeal to or abide by, whether it's Title 10, whether it's state law, whether it's fair employment practices. Very basic stuff to make sure that the people in Fresno can apply for jobs, be treated fairly, and that we're going to be a city that's not going to discriminate against you for one thing or another. That has no place in a functioning democratic republic like the U.S., and especially not in Fresno.
And here's the thing, if Congress passes a law changing these requirements and changing our compliance requirements, we will follow that. But it can't be through executive orders. It has to be through an act of Congress.
Particularly through executive orders that also break standing federal law.
That's, yeah.
Given the track record of the administration that's in, I guess, in office right now, a lot of things find their way eventually to the Supreme Court. Do you think that this has that type of
That sounds like a lawyer question.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell whether the administration is going to appeal all the way up. It's hard to tell whether the Supreme Court would take a case like this. Just as a reminder, during this administration's previous term, the Ninth Circuit already ruled on almost on the exact same issue and found what was going on unconstitutional, and that didn't rise to the Supreme Court. So it's really hard to say.
I'll add, I think, you know, whether you like the president or not, he's a person that looks at reality, and he's a strategist. And I think that he would see that first term it didn't work, it hasn't worked so far, and he'll probably move on to the next thing. And hopefully that means that we can just follow federal law, keep our dollars local, and continue doing the work we need to do.
City Attorney, you mentioned some of the requirements imposed on the city. What types of grant funding and how much in grant funding was at stake if those requirements were not followed?
It was over $250 million, and so some of those grants related to housing from HUD. There were some EPA dollars in there, public safety dollars. Definitely airport and transportation dollars was the biggest bucket.
You said that some of the money has been spent at this point. How much?
Yeah, I apologize, we don't have that data, but we do know that we're underway on an airport expansion, and those funds were part of that expansion project. So we're talking about millions of dollars that are in contract right now with different vendors. So think about this, if we had to, like the city attorney said earlier, if we had to comply and roll back and give that money back to the federal government, either we stop the work now, which hurts all those workers working on that contract under a PLA, or we'd have to defund PD, defund fire, defund roads, which we obviously don't want to do, defund other things, or have to issue bonds, which we don't have the capacity for anymore. And something has to give, but we do pass balanced budgets in the city. We don't run deficits. So we were put in an absolutely impossible position. This was our only option, and it has paid off.
Omar, to your point too, let's take it the other direction. Say we decided to follow the executive order and break the state law, break the federal law, that means the state money's going away. So that means that our public safety money coming in for your fire, your police, SB1 money coming in for our roads, Prop 68 money coming in for our parks, means we'd be in direct violation of state law, which means we'd lose that money. So I like to use a metaphor of mom and dad get divorced, they both bought you presents, but you only get one. Who are you gonna spend Christmas with? Well, it's a terrible place to be as a kid, it's a terrible place to be as a city, and we were gonna find a third option that didn't result in our constituents, the people who put us in these jobs, to lose any of their hard-earned tax money that is going directly back into their community.
How long do you guys think litigation will last?
Again, it's unpredictable. It just depends if they appeal or not. If they want to take this all the way through to trial or a motion for summary judgment, it really depends.
Yeah, I think we're done. If they choose to continue, we're going to continue. And case law's on our side.
Is there an estimated time for they have to respond for the appeal?
Yeah, 30 days.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.